What is going on, Alabama fans? Chris Daughtery here at the Alabama Football Report. Appreciate you guys joining us for today's show. We're going to be breaking down some SEC tiebreaker scenarios today, but first, I just want to thank everybody who did subscribe yesterday during our Alabama versus Mercer watch party. We had some technical difficulties right before halftime and through halftime, but we got back here for the second half, so I appreciate everybody who did stick with us for that, and everybody who subbed as well. We'll be live for every single Alabama football game for our watch parties. We'll be doing a Jalen Milroe jersey giveaway for the Iron Bowl as well, so do not miss out. Make sure you guys hit that sub button for me right now. All right, like I said, we're going to be breaking down some SEC tiebreaker scenarios on today's show. And we're not going to go through every single one of them because there's a lot of different things that could happen in the SEC. But, for the most part, we're going to kind of dive into this question, whether or not you want Alabama to make the SEC championship game or not. We're going to look at some pros, we're going to look at some cons, and some different scenarios that could possibly play out here in the last couple weeks of the college football season. These were the results yesterday for SEC matchups in Week 12. You had Texas really kind of squeaking by Arkansas, winning that game 20-10, and then Florida. Wow, what a ball game, man. Florida upsets LSU. I guess you could call that an upset. You got DJ Lagway coming back in and playing very well. I don't know what's going on with Brian Kelly out there, man. Look, I said he was a fraud a long time ago. Seems like LSU fans are finally starting to figure that out there. South Carolina also beat Missouri. And I'll be honest, I didn't get a chance to actually watch the game, and I still haven't seen any highlights, but I do know I was looking at my phone, looking at scores. Missouri took the lead super late in the game with like a minute or so left, and then a couple hours later, I checked my phone, and South Carolina won the game, so that was absolutely insane there. And then Georgia last night, in a very big game, goes and beats Tennessee, which sets up Alabama very nicely to make the SEC championship game. So let me know in the comments section right now, guys. I know I've asked this question a few times now, but bear with me. It's only going to be, a couple of more weeks and, maybe next week. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But let me know, do you even want Alabama to make the SEC championship game this year? Type Y for yes or N for no. We're going to look at some pros and cons after this, but let me know at the pinned comment of today's video, do you want Alabama to make the SEC championship game? All right, here's some pros and some cons here. First, the biggest pro. You win the SEC championship game, you get a first-round bye in the college football playoffs, and I do think that is very, very big. But look, the biggest con, if you lose the game, you could possibly be out of the college football playoffs. And apparently also, there's this narrative out there that the committee wouldn't punish Alabama for playing an extra game. And I just don't buy that at all. I mean, the committee are like politicians. Like, do you trust them with your money? Probably not. I do not trust the committee at all to make the right decisions. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But I am not putting the cards in their hands. You compare it to like a fight, right? You do not want the fight to go to the judge's decision because the judges all the time make bad decisions. So, look, I've thought about this long and hard. At this point, I would rather Alabama actually make the SEC championship game because I do think all the scenarios there for whoever Alabama would be playing, I think those are winnable games. I like the idea of getting the first round bye. Look, I know, it's an extra game, possible, the possibility of more injuries and things like that. But look, just at the end of the day, I think that's a loser's mindset. I think you want to win out. I think you want to win the SEC championship and just solidify your dominance. Because at the beginning of the season, there are many people, especially here in the Chat Sports offices as well, that said Alabama was going to lose 4 or 5 games this year. Well, doesn't look like that's really the case. And look, I just want to rub it in their face. I want to win an SEC championship, and I want to go on, make the college football playoffs, and win a national championship. Just be able to run it or rub it in their faces as well. Now, these are some dates that I think are very, very important to note. You got the Iron Bowl on November 30th, and then you have the SEC championship game on December 7th. The first round, depending on where you're, seated in the playoffs, either you would play on December 21st or December 20th. The quarterfinals, that's the first game. If you win the SEC championship game, you would get that bye week, and you would not play until either New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. So if you win the SEC championship game and you get that bye, you get 23 days off in total. If you do not make the SEC championship game, you get 20 days off. So when you're taking the days off and, rest time into account when you make your decision whether or not you want to make the SEC championship game or not, honestly, you get 3 extra days if you win the SEC championship game and then have that bye week, or have that first round bye as well. So, that's just another thing that makes me think, look, I think Alabama wants to make the SEC championship game, and I think you want to go out there and win it because I do think the situations are very winnable for you, and we're going to go over those situations, all those scenarios and tiebreakers here in just a second, but I want to give a shout out to a sponsor today, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in over 30 different states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. One of my favorite things about Prize Picks is they actually have an injury insurance policy. So your lineup stays in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. One of my other favorite things about Prize Picks is the fact that they have the flex play. You don't have to get every single one of your picks correct to come out on top. You can get one wrong and still come out on top with Prize Picks. These are our professional football picks for this week. We got Cooper Rush. Look, man, the Dallas Cowboys are just kind of a big dumpster fire this year. We're going to go with a less than on him for passing yards. Dak Prescott, of course, is out for the rest of the season with an injury there. And look, Cowboys can't stop the run either, so we're going to go with Joe Mixon, more than rushing yards there. And we're going to go with Rico Dowdle, the more than on receiving yards, because I think if the Cowboys are going to be able to move the ball with Rush throwing the ball, I think it's going to have to be, they're going to have to get him some easy targets there. Maybe Rico Dowdle, some screen action out of the backfield can help Cooper Rush out in that aspect there. So sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. It is just guaranteed. So go over to Prize Picks, download the Prize Picks app today, and use promo code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. Now, like I said, there are still there's a lot of different scenarios that could go down here for the SEC championship, and whether or not that's, Alabama making it or missing it, there's still even another chance there that, you could end up playing Georgia in the SEC championship. So we'll discuss that as well. The first scenario here, Alabama wins out. Now, I will go ahead and just say every single one of these scenarios involves Alabama winning out. There's no path to the SEC championship game if you do not win out. So the easiest scenario here is Alabama wins out. Missouri wins one of their last 2 games against either Mississippi State or Arkansas, 2 pretty bad teams. Those are games that they should absolutely win. If those 2 things happen, Alabama would then play the winner of Texas versus Texas A&M. And, I think that's a toss-up too. I think either one of those teams could win that ball game. So, I definitely think this is the most realistic path, honestly, for the rest of the college football season to happen. Scenario number 2 here. Alabama wins out. Missouri loses both. There's this thing out there where Missouri has to win one of their last games for Alabama to make the SEC championship game, and that's it's just simply not true. There is still a path where if Missouri loses both of their games, Alabama can still get into the SEC championship game. If Texas A&M beats Texas in Week 14, Alabama would then play Texas A&M. Now, it also works in reverse favor. So if you're somebody that does not want Alabama to make the SEC championship game, Alabama wins out, Missouri loses both. If Texas wins that game in Week 14 against Texas A&M, Texas would then play Georgia in the SEC championship game. So, if you're one of those people that do not want Alabama to play in the SEC championship game, that is probably your most likely path for that to happen at this point. Now, obviously, there's other things that can happen. There's different upsets that can happen. I just do not want to go dive deep into all that because there's 6 SEC games in Week 13. There's 6 in Week 14. A lot of crazy shit could happen. So, I just want to go down some of the most, likely scenarios that are out there for that. But there is one unlikely scenario that I want to discuss, and it's very unlikely that this is going to happen, but I do think it is a very, very, fun thing, really, because I love seeing LSU lose. And if Alabama wins out, Missouri loses both of their last 2 games versus Mississippi State and Arkansas. If Vandy beats LSU, which I would not put out of the realm of possibility, LSU is a screaming dumpster fire right now. Their fan base is absolutely melting down. I would love to see Vandy go in there and beat LSU, whether it helps you or not. And then Kentucky beats Texas in Week 13. Probably not going to happen. Like I said, it is very unlikely, but it's a fun, kind of crazy, chaotic scenario. And then Texas beats Texas A&M in Week 14 there. Alabama would actually play Georgia then in the SEC championship game. So that would be another fun matchup as well. Like I said, these are not the only scenarios, but I do think that was a fun one that I wanted to bring up and discuss as well today. So pick one to play. If these 2 teams right here seem like the most likely teams that you would play in the SEC championship. So if that happens, let me know. Who would you rather play? Type T for Texas or type A&M if you'd rather play Texas A&M. Now, before we get out of here, I just kind of want to leave you with this. I understand both sides of the conversation. You want to make the college football playoffs. That's kind of the bigger thing. But, if you don't make the SEC championship game, there is also still a chance that you're going on the road in the first round. And that's probably not going to be against a team like Indiana. I think they're going to lose next week to Ohio State. I think they have a fraud of a schedule. I think they're going to go into that game and get blown out. Maybe they're a better team than I think, but I think they lose that game at the end of the day. There's still a chance that you could have to go play Ohio State on the road or Oregon on the road. There's some good teams in the college football playoffs that I don't want to go on the road and play. There's no guarantee that you have a home game if you play in the first round of the college football playoffs. I also want to say this. Winning an SEC championship is supposed to be a special thing. I hate the fact that we're sitting here right now talking about possibly not wanting to make the SEC championship game. Nick Saban always talked about the fact that their goal every single season going in was not necessarily to win the national championship. It was to win an SEC championship. And if you do all the right things and you win an SEC championship, that sets you up to be able to play for a national championship. That's why I was not in favor of the 12-team playoff. Sure, it's more games, it's more football, it's fun, but at the end of the day, it's diminishing the, importance of an SEC championship game. We're sitting here discussing whether or not you want to even go to the SEC championship game. It's supposed to be a special thing, and look, me personally, I've gone back and forth on this. I see both sides of it, but man, I would love Alabama to make the SEC championship game. I want to go in there. I want to run the SEC. And I think, all those games that you could possibly play, whether that's Texas, whether that's Texas A&M or Georgia, those are all very winnable games for you. And I'll say this too. I think it's a loser's mindset to go out there and not want to play in the SEC championship game. Because when you get to the college football playoffs, who do you think you're going to play? Scrubs? Maybe if you have to play an Indiana or a BYU, we'll see what happens with them. They lost last night to 3-6 Kansas or whatever they are. So, look, I think at the end of the day, you want to make the SEC championship game. You want to win the SEC championship game. You want that first round bye, and that sets you up very nice to go on a run to win a national championship this year.